It feels like it's been weeks now that New York Mets fans have been told who they should get this offseason. But today, Pat Ragazzo drops a scathing article. We're going to get to that next on Metcast. Welcome back to another episode of Metcast, friends. As always, I am Randy. If you're enjoying this content, I ask you to like and subscribe. Turn those notifications on so you never miss an upload or any of the New York Mets news that you need to know. And today, our friend Pat Ragazzo over at SNY dropped his off-season article, the first one, on who the New York Mets need to acquire to become an immediate World Series contender. And I know there's a lot of people out there, including myself. Is it Skubal? Is it Peralta? If they can't get Pete back, do we entertain Schwarber? Is it this guy? Is it that guy? Enough is enough. But we're going to be coming with you with new news throughout the entire offseason. But I want to get to that article right now. So here we have it from Pat Ragazzo. One move the New York Mets must make this offseason. Here's one move the New York Mets need to make this winter, as he goes on. With the first baseman Pete Alonso planning to opt out his contract this summer, closer Edwin Diaz expected to do the same, even though he hasn't declared as of yet. We all know where that's heading. The Mets almost have to retain the pair of stars. I agree, but let's be honest, it's got to be on fair deals. I think Edwin Diaz might get prioritized and done quicker than Pete Alonso. Pete experienced it last year. I don't think he's going to want this to drag out like it did last year, but Scott Boras being his agent, we all know anything's possible. We saw it last year and didn't expect it. But beyond keeping their own talent, there's another move the team must make this winter, and that's acquiring a frontline pitcher via trade. Now, let's be honest. We've gone over it a million times. Michael King's projected to get 4 years, $92 million this offseason. I would like him because all he's going to cost is money. You have Ranger Suarez out there. You have a couple other guys that are out there, Dylan Cease, but nobody is obviously of the ilk of a number one guy. Dare I say a number two? I feel Michael King is a number two, but you could argue he's a very strong three. The name that should be at the top of their list, who should not be on the who should be on the trading block, is the Detroit Tigers ace Tarik Skubal, somebody we've gone over tirelessly on this program. But according to John Heyman of the New York Post, the Tigers and Skubal are about $250 million apart in negotiations for an extension, which is a colossal for Skubal to set to become a free agent after the 2026 season. And this is massive separation in talks, has triggered a ton of trade speculation for the hurler. I agree, but now we're hearing that 250 might have been earlier in the year or late of last year. And we keep hearing how the Tigers do have the assets to retain him, but his agent is Scott Boras, and they cannot risk losing him after this year. Now, as a Mets fan, I look at what it's going to take to give up for him. If I'm not confident in re-signing him, you just can't. You can't do it. Maybe you feel different. Let me know in the comments below. But for me, I can't have what happened with Juan Soto and the Yankees happen to me. I said it earlier. You wish that they had Michael King. You think that they're wishing they had Michael King? I'm pretty sure that they do. And now they don't. He goes on to say, so here's where the Mets must be ultra aggressive. Skubal's a generational talent, and the Mets already missed out on the Cy Young lefty Garrett Crochet last winter, who was the ultimate trade target and ultimately traded to Boston. But let's be honest, the guy to get last year was Max Fried. Max Fried wouldn't have cost you your top prospects. All he would have cost you was money. That was the guy to get, and they just simply missed out on him. The Mets were unwilling to part with both Jet Williams and Brandon Sproat in exchange for Crochet, but they should be willing to do so for more than Skubal, which I don't understand that a little bit. I love my guy Pat over there, but think about it. Crochet's under control. You're getting 1 year of Skubal. If you trade Jet and Brandon Sproat and they both become all-stars, which they both have that ceiling, you're going to feel sick if you don't win it all and Skubal leaves. Maybe they throw in Jonah Tung. Anyone not named Nolan McLean or Carson Benz should be on the table. It comes to the possibilities of trading for Skubal. I'll tell you one thing. You can't trade Sproat and Tung. You simply can't. That is your youth right there. You can't. And I think Brandon Sproat's got the higher ceiling. I know a lot of Mets fans, including myself, were really high on Jonah Tung entering the season. and into the season, but I don't know. He's got a weird throwing motion, but throws off a lot of hitters. If he threw an extra mile or two an hour where he sat at 95, 96, I'd be more excited about him, but he hasn't as of yet. Not saying he won't do that coming into this year. He's a young guy, maybe puts on a little bit of strength, but I'm not totally sold on that. Whereas Brandon Sproat, we've seen him throw 100 miles an hour, know the potential of that arm, and he's ready to go now. And there's no give or take that Chung might be ready next year. Maybe he's the guy that ends up going for a Skubal. The Mets need to bring in an ace, and Skubal, who turns 29 in November, fits the bill. Not to mention Mets owner Steve Cohen has deep enough pockets to either extend or sign him long-term deal in free agency next year. Per Heyman, Skubal could potentially exceed Garrett Cole money in the open market at $324 million, which I absolutely expect him to do. We also got to take into effect the lockout looming in 2027. Yeah, so what if you get Skubal and you extend him big time right now? You're going to lose a year of his prime. That's something that you have to take into consideration as Met fans, whereas though Michael King on a 4-year contract, in my opinion, is not nearly as a risk. No one can deny how great Skubal is. And Skubal and McClain at the top of rotation sounds very enticing, followed by potentially a Sean Manaea rebound. But that Sean Manaea contract could absolutely devastate this team going forward. He goes on to say, Skubal, the 2024 MLB Triple Crown winner, AL Cy Young, he's going to win it again this year, as we all know. Triumphant is coming off a big year in Detroit, where he was an all-star. We all knew that. Went 13-6 with a 2.21 ERA and an 0.89 whip, which is absolutely insane. 241 strikeouts and 195 in the third innings, 31 starts. This type of dominance and consistency would propel the Mets into the postseason in 2025, which we all know, or would have. I'm assuming he's meant 2026, where they missed out on an NL wild card, which we all know, to a team in the Cincinnati Reds who has a third of the payroll that we do. Simply unacceptable, in my opinion. Bringing Skubal plus re-signing Alonso and Diaz would make the Mets an instant World Series contender in 2026. Eventually, signing the Southpaw to a long-term deal would likely create the sustainable winner as well. If the Mets were to land Skubal in their rotation, would include the lefty at the top of the rotation, Nolan McClain, Clay Holmes, Kodai Senga, David Peterson, and Sean Manaea. And look, I get where Pat's coming from, but those bottom three starters, we honestly have no idea what they're going to give us this year. David Peterson, Kodai Senga, and Sean Manaea were catastrophic down the stretch. And you can't sit here and say, we know what they're going to be next year. That's why you can't just throw in a Jonah Tung. Maybe you want to give up one of those guys, but Brandon Sproat or Jonah Tung have to be on this team next year, at least as depth in the second half. And the Mets need to add other players. If you're going to add Skubal, that shouldn't take you out of the running for everybody. Sean Manaea is due $25 million over the next 2 years. Frankie Montas is out all of next year. Peterson's going to be a free agent after 2026. We all know where this is heading. And I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. What is your best trade proposal at this point? Would you be willing to give up a lot for Skubal, or would you prefer to go the free agent route as I would? Let me know. Thanks so much for sticking around. Make sure you turn on those notifications. Give this video a like. Leave a comment below. God bless. Let's go Mets.